Massive game coming up in the Premier League this weekend. Liverpool taking on Manchester United. Liverpool with those 3 straight losses in all competitions behind them. Manchester United looking to make it back-to-back wins in the Premier League for the first time under Ruben Amorim. Just taking a look at the tail of the tape this season. It's not quite the magnitude maybe it once was between these two sides, with Liverpool in second and Manchester United in 10th right now. However, Liverpool's record behind them not so favourable as it stands, as we welcome in Mark Ogden to talk more about this. Stuart Robson still with us. Let me start with you though, Craig. Who needs to win more, Liverpool or Manchester United?
Well, bearing in mind, we've had that ridiculous statement from Sir Jim Ratcliffe about 3 years, to give Ruben Amorim. They got the win against Sunderland. There's hardly anything really to embolden you, but it was a win. And I think most observers would expect, albeit Liverpool have sort of flattered to deceive for the bulk of this season, I think most observers would expect Liverpool to win. So I think in that sense, barring an absolute pasting, Ruben Amorim can sort of probably wave this one off. I think the bigger of the two, I think the one that needs to win more is Arne Slot. I think there's a lot of questions there. There's a lot of questions about the performances. It would be 4 defeats in a row. It would be a defeat at Anfield. It would be a defeat by a very bad Man United side. And it would just bring up more questions. We don't know what the lineup is going to be for Arne Slot. Does Florian Wirtz play? Does Szoboszlai play right back? I don't think that will happen, but we've seen it before. Does Ekitike play, or is he benched again and Alexander Isak plays? Because that's been a topic of discussion, because Isak is chasing his fitness and Ekitike, up to his stupid booking where he missed the Palace game, has been arguably their best player, their most influential player, their most dangerous player. So as we sit here now, we don't know the conundrum or the team selection from Arne Slot, which could have obviously has got a big effect on the game. But what we do know, certainly in my opinion, is that he needs to win this game more, because, as I said, 4 defeats and the manner of which this game has come around off the international break, they need to find some momentum, they need to find some balance in their team, they need to get their bigger players like Gravenberg, their McAllister, all these guys playing well again. Kanate struggled at the back 4 has struggled, Kerkez has struggled. We've talked about Stevie and I haven't talked about bringing Andy Robertson back in, but if you watched Andy Robertson play for Scotland, you wouldn't bring him back in because he struggled there. So there are so many questions I think from this Liverpool side, that I think it's a big game for Arne Slot.
We had a similar conversation yesterday. I thought in terms of pressure on the respective managers, Amorim is under a whole lot more pressure going into this one, and a bad result is Arne Slot has equity in the bank, given what you saw last season.
But Ruben Amorim can't be fired.
Right.
Well, no, not that he can't. So Jim Ratcliffe could not come.
Right. Not that Slot is going to get fired either. In terms of managers, I think Amorim is under more pressure. In terms of teams, I feel this is a must-win, or more of a must-win for Liverpool. Given what you've seen from Arsenal, given what you see from City, even though we've been fairly critical, City haven't played well at times, but they're 3 points off the top. So there isn't a whole lot of wiggle room. And you're coming into this one, 3 losses on the bounce. You're at Anfield against your rivals, Manchester United, albeit not the Manchester United of old. I think this is a big game for Liverpool from that regard, to again announce that they're here to stay, certainly in this title race to the end of the season.
Oggy, are the guys right that Amorim doesn't need to win this as much as Slot does?
No, listen, I think when Man United play Liverpool, both managers need it just as much for different reasons. And I think in this case, you can make a case for Arne Slot needing to win 3 straight defeats, lose to Man United, that would be a big loss. And obviously with Arsenal going so well at the top, you'd think they'd lose touch. But at least if Liverpool do lose, they're going to bounce back and they're going to finish easily top 3. So their crisis is kind of small-scale crisis. If it comes to that, I think if United lose, then we're back into the kind of will he stay, will he go situation. And I know that Sir Jim Ratcliffe said last week that he needs 3 years and that he's a great coach. But when he said that, I took a check back at last year when Jim Ratcliffe said about Erik ten Hag that he's a very good coach, and then 3 weeks later he sacked him. So you can't really put too much store on what Sir Jim Ratcliffe says, because it will be decided by results. So if Ruben Amorim goes to Anfield and loses, then the pressure's back on, because the situation United right now is this season they've beaten 2 promoted teams and they're beating Chelsea, who had 10 men for virtually the whole of the game. They've lost to Grimsby in the Carabao Cup. So the last away win was Leicester in the Premier League in March, and Leicester were relegated by a million miles. So you can't really look at anything United have done this season to say that they are improving, despite what people at United will try and say that the stats point to this, the stats point to that. Well, the league table says that they're not doing very well. So if they go to Anfield and get the usual result at Anfield, which is a big defeat, yes, they drew there last season, but it tends to be a defeat in recent seasons, then the pressure's back on, because people are saying, oh, well, they've got Brighton coming up and Nottingham Forest coming up and Tottenham coming up, as if those are games that they'll win. Well, they lost at home to Brighton last season, they lost at Forest, and I think they lost to Spurs 3 times. So there's no game coming up for Man United that you can say, well, get the Liverpool game out of the way and it'll be a lot easier. So Amorim has to win just as much as Slot.
Let's go back to the Florian Wirtz question, if we can, Stuart, and whether Arne Slot should start him in this game. He dropped him before the international break. Liverpool still lose anyway. What should he do here? Who should he play?
Well, obviously, Florian Wirtz has been a great player at Bayer Leverkusen. He hasn't done it for Liverpool so far. It depends whether Arne Slot wants a solid midfield three that can get forward and drop in at the right times, whether he can get more out of the wide right player. But if you've bought a player for that amount of money, you've got to give him some sort of time to settle in, to find his feet. And this might be the right game to do it against Manchester United, who Mark Ogden has just said aren't a particularly good side at the moment. They're inconsistent. Don't think they're very good defensively at times. So Florian Wirtz, at some point, if you've spent that amount of money on a player, you've got to put him in the team and try and get him to find his feet, because he is a good player. He's just got to find the right little pockets of space to do his work. At the moment, it's not working out for Liverpool all around, and a lot of the new signings haven't played well enough. This is the sort of time it's got to change after the international break. These new players have to start showing how good they are.
Manchester United, you could argue, have one of the worst midfields at protecting a back four, or a back three, whatever you want to talk about, a back line. One of the worst. They have no mobility, they have lots of experience, but they have no mobility in there. Casemiro can't do it anymore, certainly can't do it on his own. Agathi's been hopeless, and it's not Bruno Fernandes's sort of natural job to try and do that. So from that perspective, I think this is an opportune time at home to get Florian Wirtz off and running, because he's not. Rob said he has not. He has not played well, and it does take time sometimes to come into a new team. But if they could ignite him at home against one of their biggest rivals historically, against a team that is weak in that position, against a team that he's probably going to get some space in to operate, which is what he wants, and then it's up to him to go and deliver. I think this is the perfect opportunity to build his confidence, to get on the ball, to create things, to make things happen, to get the Liverpool crowd going, wow, this is the player that we thought we were going to get. This is the Florian Wirtz from Germany. This is the guy that is this huge transfer fee. And I think at some point he's going to have to do that, Arne Slot. And I think this is the perfect opportunity, because I think it fits the bill, because United are very weak in that area. Whether he will do it or not, I had this conversation with Stevie. He doesn't think Florian Wirtz will play. Rob, the boys have touched on a more solid three in midfield. I don't know. But at some point, you got to put your money where your mouth is and say, look, this is the guy, we need to get him in that 10 role, we need to get him operating, and there are fewer teams, if any, in the Premier League that are going to allow you a lot of space in that area. And so I think it fits the bill to get him into the team.
And let's talk about team news for Liverpool, continuing on this conversation if we can, Mark, and the injury list here. What's the situation with Konate?
So doubt, isn't he? Is a guy that might struggle, and obviously when Konate's not fit, then they have got a problem, because they haven't got an abundance for centre half. They missed out on Mark Gray, so they really need Konate to be fit. I think it's 50-50, maybe even less than that. So Liverpool have got a problem. So what do? Do they bring in Joe Gomez, who we know can do a job, but is he ever going to be fit? He might be fit for 60 minutes. So Liverpool have got a problem at centre half, and the one area where United are better than last season, I think, is up front. I think Sesko's beginning to settle down a little bit. He offers more of a threat in the sense that he can hold the ball, he can flick it on, and Boom moves around a bit. Cunha's looked lively without scoring a goal, so Liverpool would need a reliable centre half against United if United ever get out of their own half to give the ball to the forwards. But I think Liverpool, that is their position of weakness. So Yeah, it's a struggle for Konate to be fit, but I think that they've got Gomez to come in if needed. But you know, Gomez is a good player at times, but his injury record has also let him down in the past.
Can that offer some hope then, Robbo, to Manchester United, knowing these defensive issues for Liverpool?
Yeah, because they haven't defended well